Hey, Tilly, delighted to be chatting with
Hello.
you. Myself and my friend here, Steve Evans.
Nice
Hi,
to meet
Tilly.
you.
Good to meet you.
Hello.
I'm assuming you are in London and you are in Wood Green. Is that where you are now? Yeah.
I'm not actually in Wood Green. I'm not actually in Wood Green. I'm a little bit nearer. Well, I don't want to give away exactly where I am, but I'm not in Wood Green. I'm a little bit further south of Wood Green into London.
Okay, no
But,
worries. We won't go any further with that one.
I've always been put down as being in Wood Green. I've never lived in Wood Green. I wasn't born in Wood Green. It's really odd that on my Wikipedia page it says Wood Green, but I'll take it if that's what people want. But it's really odd.
You're born in...
Is it as cold in London as it is up here in the northwest then?
Well, it's pretty cold. I mean, I don't suppose it's as cold, but I just walked the dog and I needed a proper puffer jacket and everything. So I think we're getting there. And it was dark, which is depressing. I can't believe it. I was thinking of the Simon and Garfunkel song, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend, as I was walking around. Here we are, 5 months of this. Here we go. Oh. You know, get the torches out again. It's really boring. Anyway.
Yeah. So, Tilly, can I ask, well, we've connected on Twitter where you post these brilliant. I love the one today, the parody, the Tory skit on Matt Hancock.
A bit of a gift, though, isn't it?
Superb.
It's a bit of a gift. And I did think, do I do innuendo? Oh, yeah, I'm going to do innuendo because actually his name, Hancock, I mean, what can you do with it? You just got to start there and carry on as it is. I mean, it's just mad. It's insane that one of our politicians, yet again, a politician, is off to the jungle. It's mind-blowing. But
Hancock.
It's probably not the most topical. It's probably missed a day. But sometimes I just do what I want to do because it makes me laugh and I can't believe it.
Gave me a smile today. You put them out anywhere else? You put these on TikTok as well as on Twitter?
I started with Facebook. I have tried TikTok, but actually I don't think politically it's the right platform, to use those words, for it, in the same way that Twitter is very political. So people are interested, I think, more in having this sort of thing there. I did put it on others, but it's not the same. Facebook is more your friends, and they're always going to support you. But TikTok is probably not where I'm best seen, I think. But I have tried, but it didn't really work for me. So I just stick to Twitter, although who knows what's going to happen to Twitter now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say you're probably best known as Mandy in Desmonds, but actually, are you more well known for this parody work on Twitter? Because it is pretty good, isn't it?
I mean, I wanted to say to you, this character I did as a stand-up in my 20s. I've been doing it for years, but I wrote a show with my sister and another actor, and we did this sort of comedy show at the Canal Cafe in London in my mid-20s. And I developed this character, and I was approached by a comedy manager. Would I take it out? And I did it at the Time Out Festival, did it in Birmingham. I did it as a proper stand-up. And then I got Desmonds, so I sort of let her go a bit. And then I had family, and I wasn't able to go out and do stand-up. But she's always been there. And during the lockdown, I was looking and watching, as we all were, various people who are on the radio, broadcasting, journalists, on our news. And I thought, oh my God, that's Celia. That's Lady Celia Walmsley-Clark. She was a debutante when I did her. She was always making crass comments. And I used to name where the audience were. So they'd be at the Miners' Union Christmas Do, or we'd be at the Old People's Home. And she'd start by saying, can you hear me at the back? And then she'd look and show, can you hear me at the front? She was always slightly rude, slightly insulting, not understanding where she was. And she was really funny because she was stupid and didn't get it. And when we were in the lockdown, I was driving around. I hadn't really thought of doing anything. But also in the lockdown, we became aware, I don't know if you did, of comedians doing satire online on Twitter. It was a new development, really. It had to happen because we're all sitting indoors. It was there, but it wasn't as much. And then suddenly Michael Spicer was there with the Room Next Door, and Sarah Cooper did those fantastic lip syncs to Trump with his mad, crazy press speeches. And I suddenly thought, God, Celia, this is what she would have become. She would have become one of these she would be in the House of Lords, but she would be sort of floating around the government and probably being on the radio, and she would have been this now. And I just wrote something and did it, and people liked it, so I did another one, and then I did another one, and now I'm sort of addicted and I can't stop. And probably someone needs to stop me, because I can't stop doing it, because things are always coming to me, and some weeks are easier than others, but I just like to do her. That she's based on almost reality, but not quite. I mean, there are people who float around the government who have lots of jobs and don't really have a point. But that's her. That's Lady Celia Walmsley-Clark. Obviously, with Liz Truss, I did decide to do her for a few weeks. Fortunately, just for a few weeks. But she was too good not to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not an impressionist, so I never actually name myself. I never say I am. I tend to just be, if you know what I mean, that person, and then do it that way. 'Twas the night before Gray's report, and all through the house not a minister was stirring, not even a mouse. Tories had claimed a work event, a birthday. Boris was unaware, but they all knew that Sue Gray soon would be there. Boris spoke not a word, but went straight to his phone, rang up dear old St. Dick to try to postpone. St. Dick, laying a finger aside of her nose, gave a nod. We'll delay announcing what Sue Gray knows. She went back to her office, gave the team a whistle, got the police investigation going with the speed of a missile. And we heard Boris exclaim as he drove away out of sight, "Thanks, Dick. Any chance of a party tonight?"
The character's ideal. The programme, the thick of it, the political satire.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
That was made for you, wasn't it? You should have. Your character should have been in that series.
She's very much that, and I mean, it's interesting because when I was in my 20s, it was debutantes. It was sort of posh ladies, and they were in the government then. And I think the thick of it absolutely portrayed the stupidity of people in politics, of which there is some. And I guess so. I mean, I haven't ever copied anything. I sort of had her, she's my own creation, but yeah, you can see obviously the arenas that she would be in. And other people have seen those same places and written those same scenarios because it exists. It's insane. It's almost close to the truth, you know.
Yeah.
Quite close.
Yeah.
But yes, Desmonds. Desmonds. Desmonds was a complete and utter joy. And I was asked to do the first episode as the girl in the bank who works in the bank, and then because they were sort of still writing it and evolving it as we were doing it, they said, could you come back next week? We think you might be quite a good character. And so I didn't even go up for this character, for the part of Mandy. It was sort of developed on me as we went along, and that was incredible. And all of the actors in that were remarkable. The older ones especially, you know, I learned so much from that, from doing a weekly, or we did 2 every 10 days, but doing that long series and watching them get the script and work. And then we had the amazing producer Humphrey Barclay, who had, you know, been going for a long time, done lots of other comedy shows. He brought so much to it. Then we had an amazing producer called Paulette Randall. I learned so much doing that show, and it was a joyous one. It really was fantastic to be part of. We did it for a live audience as well, so the response was always huge, and often we'd have to retake it because they were cheering and so excited. It was a vibrant atmosphere for that show. It was amazing. I've never had an experience like that since.
I read yesterday in the Guardian, there was an article. Channel 4's anniversary. It's the longest sitcom ever on Channel 4. 74 episodes.
And it was the biggest audience at the time. At the time we had something like 5 million, which was huge for Channel 4.
Yeah.
And they would say to us, by the way, be careful when you travel. We're very big in Ireland. Ireland was our biggest audience. It was fantastic because it meant that we weren't just playing to a minority, one group. Everybody loved it, and I think that was the magic of it. It was a family. It was a typical family and friends in a situation, and it was lovely. So it was, yeah, they said, oh, Abu Dhabi we were huge in. Yeah, lots of places where people were mobbed when they got off the plane. I didn't go anywhere, but that was, yeah, it was very, very successful. It was incredibly successful, and yeah, it's still playing now, and it's been playing ever since.
Yeah, more recently you've been in a Sick Note.
Yeah.
Were you handpicked for that, or was it? Did you go in and say I can do that?
Yeah,
yeah.
For Sick Note, I was asked to go in and read for it. Yeah, and it was brilliant. Again, it was a fantastic, fun job. Mad. It's a mad concept, but again, Joyce, and you could be, you know, she was the mother who was obsessed with her other son. So she kept calling this son, Rupert Grint, she kept calling by Simon, his brother.
Yeah.
Which the writer had said to me was sort of autobiographical for him because that's what his mother did to him. Oh. So yeah, it was great. It was great. It was lovely. And
brilliant. Well, going back to the start of your career, I mean, your parents, Gillian and Edward, were writers, weren't they? Did that influence your choice of acting as a career, or did it help?
Well, actually, my father had been an actor at first. He went to RADA, then he became a writer. Of course, it influenced me. It was everywhere, you know. It was all around me. And my mother, one of her books was turned into a movie when I was 5, which became a huge hit. And as Hollywood does, they went, oh, we'll have her. So they asked her to come out and write a movie for them in Hollywood. Wow. And she didn't want to split the family up. So I remember her standing there saying, we're going off to Hollywood. And she took us off, my sister and I. We went to school there. And for the next 15 years, we spent part of our time over there. And in those days, my mother would be writing the film. We'd be going to school, but we finished quite early, and she'd be writing the film on set, on the the Hollywood studios. Harriet, my sister, and I would play on the Hello Dolly set behind the little hut that she was writing in. I mean, it was just extraordinary, an extraordinary time. Yeah. And I think it really, obviously, I was around it all the time.
Yeah. Can I ask a question about actors and actresses? Well, why are both called actors these days? Is that...
Well, you wouldn't say footballeress. You wouldn't say plumberess. You wouldn't. It's one job. So I don't think we have to divide it gender-wise to say, oh, that person's a woman, she's being an actor, or that man's a man. You don't need to describe. It's just the job of acting, and therefore we are actors, I think. And I think everything is slowly becoming that way. True. You know, we did used to divide it up, but we don't do it anymore. And
it makes sense, that, doesn't it? But I didn't want to feel like you're stepping on someone's toes nor insulting you by calling you an actor instead of an actress.
I'm not offended if you say actress. No, I'm not. Times change. We have to keep up with it, and I'm not offended at all if someone calls me an actress. But yeah, in general, now we are actors because that's the one job we're all doing. Obviously, they're all different.
Yeah, I mean, you've played so many mainstream TV shows, Holby, Casualty, The Bill. There's a list of on Terry's behind Terry there. Also, what was one of your favourite roles? What was one of your favourites?
Oh, they're all my favourites when I do them. I'm in love with everything when I do it. You know.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't think of one that stands out of all of them really, because I love working, and so I'm working. I love television. I love film and television. I did a lot of theatre when I first left drama school, and a lot of repertory theatre, and I feel I've done that mostly. So I love TV and film. I like the immediacy of having to deliver a performance, and that's it. I've been in the West End. I've done 8 shows a week for many months. Wow. It's it's quite something to commit to that. Yeah. And I did it and I loved it, but I think I'm really happy on screen, really. I enjoy the process more now. I think when I was young, I really wanted to do theatre, and I love live comedy. We still go to the comedy clubs and see new stuff. It's inspirational. Yeah.
You're associated with comedy roles mainly. Have you ever done stand-up comedy? You mentioned before you did these sort of cabaret.
Oh yeah. I did Celia Walmsley Clark as a stand-up, and it was enjoyable. It was scary.
Was it scary? I was going to say, was it scary? Yeah.
Well, it was scary. You know, when you're younger, you're a little more fearless.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't embark on it now if I was starting out. But I also had the most amazing experience. I wanted to learn. I wanted to expand more on my comedy ability, and I did a class in comedy improvisation, which resulted in me meeting lots of talented, amazing comedians. And we opened a comedy club in the West End called the Hurricane Club. Robin Williams played with us. All the comedians at the time came. Yeah. It was, again, another of those incredible experiences. And so I was on stage every week having to make things up and be funny with my fellow comedians. And that's such a training to have to do that.
Improvisation.
And also you lose your fear, because you learn to trust something's going to come out of your mouth, and you can do it. And I teach impro now for all sorts of people, business and all sorts of people. That just letting go and allowing yourself to trust what you're going to say is going to be okay. And once you let go, people come up with the most fantastically funny stuff. They didn't even know they were going to say it, and there it is. And that's even more wonderful because it's in the moment, and you couldn't script it, you couldn't prepare it. It's just there. So yeah, I think stand up, but also I did comedy impro. Whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
Comedy. I did that for 10 years, and that really has made a huge difference for me as a creator and writer and performer, because just learning to let go and see what happens.
Do you prefer to do then stage, TV, film, or stand up?
I think
favorite.
If you pay the same, yeah.
I've just been filming a movie actually. I've just been filming a movie 2 weeks ago. I got back, and I decided I loved that best of all. I loved it. We were in Prague and London, and unfortunately, I've had to sign non-disclosure. So if I tell you what it is, I'd have to kill you. But
understand.
It was a fantastic, again, just wonderful experience to be, together filming a very moving scene. It wasn't comedy, actually. It was far from it. And I love film and television best, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So when you get picked for these roles, do you still have to go and audition, or does your show reel and your name now just go, oh, we know who we want for this? Or
sadly, I'm not quite in that league yet. It's self-tapes, it's meetings, Zooms. Yeah, still that. I did, yeah. More and more we're having to do self-tapes. And in a way, I thank goodness for doing Celia, because I'm not brilliantly technical, but I've learned how to edit and how to do those things. So when you have to do self-tapes, you have to put them all together, cut them, edit them, send them off, and I can do that. So yeah, I mean, it has changed. Everything has changed. We never would audition online ever, or on a self-tape before, and we'd always be in the room, and that's gone for first round.
Already paid to a lot of that, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And fantastic that it's there and we have it, which is wonderful. But also, you can write, co-write, you can do all sorts of things now without having to leave the house. So in that way, it's great. But we're very on the wall about it, actors. We're not sure on the fence. We like going in and meeting people. We like working with a director and being redirected, and we don't have those opportunities anymore. We have to kind of deliver a performance and hope that's what they want. So yeah, it's different, it's changed. Okay. But yeah, screen is still my favorite.
You mentioned writing then, Tilly. Going back 1990, you published a book, Stage Struck, How to Break into the Acting Profession. You thought of updating that now, given that you've got the far greater experience in the industry?
I could actually. I mean, they updated it once, I think. Yeah. At the time, there literally was nowhere to find out how to become an actor. It was a sort of secret that you all had to find out about, and friends, parents might tell you they know somebody, or there wasn't anything written down. You could go and look up anything else on a degree course, but you didn't have it. It was like you've got to find out for yourself or you can't do it. And I felt, actually, where's the book? And it was before online, obviously, before we could look it up on Google. Yeah. Where's the book that tells us what's on offer, what we can do, what happens if we don't get into drama school, because lots of actors don't want to or haven't arrived that way. You know, how do we improve ourselves? And so I put together just a sort of page of an idea, and it got commissioned by Hodder and Stoughton. So I then had to write it. And that was quite hard because I discovered that I wasn't very good at sitting down and writing to order. Yep. So I was busy defrosting the freezer instead of typing up when I knew I had a deadline. But I did write it, and it was really interesting and very contentious, and RADA were furious with me because I described my audition at RADA, which at the time, I don't think it goes on now, you would all audition and then they'd leave you in a room with a telephone in the middle of it. They didn't tell you the phone was going to ring. The phone rang. We all looked at each other. Somebody would pick it up and they'd say, right, so-and-so and so-and-so, please stay behind. Everyone else, thank you so much. And you left. And it was absolutely horrible. Auditioning for drama school is hard enough. It's very, very difficult to audition. It's not a nice process. It's not as friendly as it could be. They make an effort more now, but at the time, they really didn't. You were made to feel that if you didn't, in fact, RADA said to me, because I tried 2 years in a row, and I got in somewhere by the second time, but they called me in and said, look, you've tried twice. Try and go away and get this compulsion to act out of your system. What? So it was very, very difficult. And that also drove me to write the book. Yeah. And then I put my experience at RADA at the time. Yeah. They were furious that I'd said it. But it was true. So there wasn't much. And they said, we don't do that now. But it was a very odd process. It's still my own kids, 2 of them are actors, and they've gone through that same process. And it's still, it really is. It's horrible. It's like trying out for a football team. It's like, you know, trying out for Liverpool. Yeah. It's cutthroat. You're in, you're out, and they have you back for a day and they work with you, and then they reject you, and you feel like you failed. You know, that's a terrible thing to do to somebody. And actors evolve at different stages. We're not all born talented and ready to go. And a lot of people come into their prime a little bit later. But those drama schools can make you feel like you aren't good enough. And I think it's quite crushing. So that book came about by me just wanting to say, look, here you are. This is what no one's telling you. If you don't get to drama school, you can go and do lots of courses. You can go and do this. You can go into Fringe. You go and do it anyway, because the compulsion to act is overwhelming, and it's a terrible profession. And if you're really prepared to do it, good on you, you know, because anything else is better. There's no guarantee of work in our profession. There's no constant income. We have to diversify. We have to do everything we can to make a living. And if you really set on that, even after that, absolutely good for you. And, you know, who's to tell you can't do it? I think it's wrong.
You know, it reminded me a lot. We talked to a lot of writers mainly, and nearly every one of them says how difficult it is to get a book published with a traditional publisher. Yeah. For the past few years, there's been a sort of an outlet for that with the growth of Amazon, self-publishing. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, both my parents were writers, and I was writing stories in bed at night as a little girl, you know, and I thought that was normal. I was always writing, and my mother was hugely influential in my life as a writer. She was so supportive, but without expecting me to be anything. But she would just love what I wrote, give me books to read, and that was a big influence. And obviously she did have a publisher, and she did have an agent, and I was around all that. But I've had a literary agent when I've had things published, but not all the time. They are very hard to get hold of. They're very difficult. It's hard. All of these art things are hard to break into because there is no structure. You can't learn your trade as an apprentice and then there you are. It doesn't work like that. You have to kind of push yourself. And I don't think, you know, I'm really lucky. There's now Twitter and platform. I can put my work out there. People like it, great. They don't, doesn't matter. But, you know, as an actor, it's really difficult to work, to find work and to do it if you're not given a job. So it's tough. It's tough. And for writers, it's the same. And there's great writers out there, who don't get published.
Yeah. Speaking of writers, have you thought about writing your own TV scripts or film scripts?
Well, I have. I do write a lot, actually, and I've written for stuff for myself, and I've co-written with another actor, and we've actually just written something recently, which we're going to do a reading for in front of industry. So I do write constantly around everything else. I'm always writing something, a film, and I've had a film commissioned to write by a well-known actor. In fact, Trix Worrell, who wrote Desmonds, has asked me to co-write an idea with him. So I'm always writing something, but not always made, But that's actually
keep your irons in the fire. Yeah, keep your irons in the fire.
Really brilliant. Who I can't remember their name, said, some of the best thing I've ever written is in the drawer, because people don't want it. And if it's not in that, that particular producer doesn't get it, that's it.
Timing.
So,
3 months down the line, it might be fantastic for somebody.
Yeah. I mean, people say things have been in the process for 10 years, and then they suddenly find that moment that it's going to work. Yeah.
Tilly, you've been look. Well, you got the big list behind me. That's only a partial list of the roles that you've been involved with.
Yeah, I hadn't realised that one.
It goes on for about three pages. Is there a particular role that you'd have loved to have played or still want to play? A particular character? Lady Macbeth? I don't know. Just one off the top of my head.
Well, there's loads. I did love, I don't think you got there, How to Be a Little Sod, which was a small 15-minute show based on cartoons, but I can't remember his name. And there was the mum.
1995, 96.
Thank you. Let's not go there. Yeah, let's just pretend it was last week. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll edit.
And that was really mad and funny, and it was a mixture of animation narrated by Rick Mail, and then I was the mad mother with the baby that's insane, and I'm not coping, and it was very funny, and we filmed it over a few months, and it was a really lovely job, and I loved that character, and we had lots of guest people in, so from all sorts of comedy shows that you would know now. So it was a really jolly affair, and it was really great, and I loved doing that role. It was fun. I could do her again.
Now, Cherry and I were talking about pantos. Apparently very lucrative are pantos. Now, I don't know. I'm going to see one soon, because there's lots of actors seem to like doing pantos because it's funny and it's kid friendly and all that. Is that something you've been involved in? And do you find
I did? One of my first jobs was Babes in the Wood in a panto, and so I have done panto, and I guess it just didn't come up. I don't know why particularly. I think probably when I was doing lots of telly, you weren't free, because it's quite a commitment, at least of 2 months. They used to go on even longer. They're not as long now. I always go to panto. I love my friend Michael Vivian, writes and directs lots of pantomime and is brilliant at it. It's joyous. I think it's hard work, and I think the problem for me, I have an elderly father, I've got family here. Being away for that length of time probably wouldn't work for me. I can't, if I'm not here, Christmas lunch isn't cooked, so forget it. I'm the one who does all of that, so I just don't think I could take the time out now, but maybe in the future, who knows. I mean, it is a fantastic, mad, extraordinary world, panto. I mean, it's not like anything else in the world, but it's funny and it's topical. I love the way the jokes are often of the moment, so it's a great genre.
Do you know, Tilly, I'm just reminded then there was a story about Cilla Black in a panto in Liverpool, and she comes on stage, I think with Jack and the Beanstalk, and she says to the children in the audience, "Children, the monster's coming. How can I get rid of the monster?" One kid shouts out, "Sing to it, Cilla."
They're the best, aren't they? Great one-liners like that, brilliant. From me, what advice would you give to a would-be up-and-coming actor starting out? What's the best thing to do? Do they go to acting school, or do they play alongside somebody in amateur productions, or what would you suggest?
Well, I'll talk from my experience.
Read your book, I'd say.
Read my book. Sorry, I have to do it, sadly. I did amateur dramatic or amateur, musicals and stuff when I was still at school. I was actually part of Southgate Amateur Opera Group, and I did that. And we did a cabaret thing as well. I think that's a great way to start, through school, through amateur stuff. It gives you that first experience of being on stage. And I did stuff at sixth form and all sorts of things. If you can get to drama school, I think it is one of the best ways, because, and I don't mean to be sort of indulgent here, but as an actor, you need to have vocal training. You need to be able to do 8 shows a week, be heard at the back of the theatre, and not lose your voice. It's really important. And as much as we think people are shouting, we're actually not shouting, we're projecting, because we learn how to breathe, and breathing and voice are vital. That's a technical ability that you can only learn at drama school. And that's doing it, I know everyone thinks we're a lot of hand-kissing lovies, which is actually true, but we're also, we train very hard for 3 years. We do voice and movement and breathing every single day for 3 years. We treat it as if we were professional opera singers. So training is very important technically. The talent's already there. But again, at drama school, you get the opportunity to do a million different types of genre plays, from historical to, modern, to anything you like. So if you can get that, great. If you can't, doesn't matter. Do fringe, put on your own stuff. When I left drama school, I put on my own fringe stuff. Just get as much experience as you possibly can. And the more experience you get, the more likely you are to be able to invite an agent to come and see you. And then that builds from there. But if you don't get into drama school, that doesn't mean you're not an actor. No one gets to tell you you're not an actor. If you've decided you are, you are. And that's all you have to know. And I think there's a million different ways of being a performer these days, as you can see from online. So many people are doing work online now who probably didn't train or do anything. And that's fine. That's fine. Who's to say, there's no one way of doing it. And I think just go for it. Go for it. But get as much experience as you can. Doesn't matter if it's a small part. Doesn't matter if it's never going to be seen by anyone else. Just do it.
That's brilliant. It's later, I suppose, when you get those knockbacks and the disheartening moments when they say, no, you're no good, you're no good. That must be, as you've mentioned already, that must be really bad. But yeah, you've got to get the grounding for that first, haven't you?
Well, I hate to say this, but my life is one long rejection. And most performers are. You get told no 99% of the time. And you have to build a sort of, wall in front of you, a fourth wall, as we use in acting, to not allow that. I mean, there are, of course, everyone gets down when you hear no for the umpteenth time. So sorry, didn't go your way this time, all that stuff. It is hard. So I learned to, if I go for an audition or send a self-tape in, I see that as my job. And then the moment that's sent off or I've left the room, I don't think about it anymore. That I make that the job. So I don't wait for the phone to ring. I'm not waiting on things, because it's exhausting and it's absolutely demoralizing. And that is the first thing you have to get used to as an actor. And you have to work out how you're going to handle it, because everybody has it. It is part of your experience in that profession. It will always be there. It just is. And if you have to not think it's not going to happen to you, it is, and it's okay. Doesn't mean you're not going to get a job another time.
Just give us a chance to say thank you very much. And it's been an absolute delight chatting with you.
It's been delightful. It's been lovely to chat. I don't often get the chance to bore people with what I think and what I'm doing.
Certainly not boring. It's
boring.
Really interesting. Thank you. Thank you.
Loved it.
But it's really nice of you. Thank you. Thank you for asking me. It's lovely.